was honestly pretty big. It puts them in a bad spot. I think they're at I have their record here somewhere. I believe they fell to I think it's 4-6 on the season, so, or
I think
four
they're
and
four and
seven.
seven. Yeah,
Yeah,
they're four
four
and
and
seven.
seven on the season. So really rough for them. And I mean they just have a lot of problems offensively. They didn't look great. Aaron Rodgers even came out after the game himself and said he wasn't playing well yesterday. And you saw that there were deep balls. There was a lot of miscommunication. If you did watch that game, I remember there was one pass where I think it was their last possession of the game that the Packers had, but it was Lazard ran a fade and just stopped running, and Aaron Rodgers tried to hit him deep on it, and that was like you don't really see that out of the Packers. I feel like you never really have in the past.
That sums up their season right now.
Yeah, 100%, and it's weird to see it in general out of them in general. But one thing that did surprise me about the Packers last night was I feel like for the most part, I don't know, Jalen, if you saw this too. Like, yeah, Derrick Henry had 87 yards, but like I feel like they did a good job at somewhat handling him, which surprised me for that Packers defense who struggled with the rush defense
Yeah.
all year. And like they definitely had opportunities to win that game and to like get a very important win. If they could have got that win at home, they beat the Packers, they beat the Titans. Yeah, after that Lions loss, it looked really bad, but winning two in a row would have been absolutely huge for them. And and it seemed like for once their run defense played well, and that was the one game their secondary seemed to.
Right. Yeah, there was I think 2 touchdowns to the tight end. Derrick Henry threw a jump
Yeah, he had
pass.
that
Like
one jump
there was
pass.
a lot more like aerial rather than ground and pound, which you would have thought that you were going to see from the Titans. But I don't know. I feel like Derrick Henry has been kind of like weird this season. Like he's like King Henry sometimes, like, but then other times like he's not. But he's still one of the main rushers of the season. But it's just like I don't know when he had that monster season. Was it last year or was it 2 years ago?
Well, I mean, he played very well both last year and 2 years ago. I think the year that you're thinking of is 2 years
I
ago.
think so. Yeah, I think so too. I think just from that and watching that like every week what he was doing to now it's like if he doesn't score more than 2 rushing touchdowns, like oh he's falling off. But that's just
No,
recency
yeah,
bias. You know what I
and
mean?
in all honesty, like I've been hearing a lot of people talk about this on like major sports radios and stuff like this. The main thing I've been impressed with the Titans, especially over the last couple of years, is yeah, obviously they have Derrick Henry. Everyone knows who Derrick Henry is, but like name five people on the Titans over the past 5 seasons.
Yeah, you
Like
can't.
the coaching out of that team. I also saw a stat today that they're the only team to be 7-3 through 10 weeks over the past 3 seasons. Like all 3 seasons, they were 7-2 through 10 weeks.
I feel like this season is the most like surprising and like you the
Yeah,
most like you have to give them credit because in those previous 2 seasons, yeah, the it was kind of like Derrick Henry show, but they had other guys like you could look to see somebody like oh AJ Brown, he's a
oh
known
yeah.
wide receiver, Robert Woods, known
hmm
wide receiver, but now it's like they got
Their leading receiver
Westbrook,
last night
what's his
was
name?
no, yeah, they have that dude Westbrook. Let me see. Let me look up the full stat line for him.
What was it Hooper last night?
Nick Westbrook. Well, yeah, Hooper. Austin Hooper's the tight end who had 2 touchdowns last night. And then their leading receiver last night was Traylon Burks.
Oh right, Traylon Burks. Yeah,
Had
I've seen him.
111.
I've seen him a couple times this season, but still, that's
Yeah,
like
it's like
he's
so
unproven yet.
like the coaching out of that team, I feel like is insane. Like Vrabel has these cool play calls. Like we saw that jump pass yesterday, and like for example, with that jump pass, you think of a play like that. You're on the 2 yard line. Like people, like it's to me, it's literally an unguardable play because like how are you going to tell the linebackers to not run downfield when Derrick Henry looks like he's
It's
going
like
to
you
run the
can't guard
ball?
both.
Like,
You can't. You
yeah,
can't.
like he's 6'8", 250. Like, you have to
LeBron
run
James on the
downfield.
football field.
Literally, you have to run downfield to even have a chance to stop him. So, like, it's such an unstoppable play because everyone has to commit to him so hard
I
that,
love
like,
stuff like that.
obviously he's going to be, yeah. And I like the Dolphins have been doing a lot like that. I have them. We'll talk about their game
Playing
last
in
week.
NCAA, like just
Yeah,
that type of like crazy. You don't know what's gonna happen. Trick
it's
plays, all that.
this
Yeah,
new generation of coaches are really putting a lot of flair into the game, and I really
I
like it.
love
Like
it.
Shanahan in San Francisco,
Oh yeah, San Francisco's even the Monday night game that just passed.
Yeah.
Commanders. I know it's Ron Rivera, like he's old, but the stuff that they was running.
No, yeah, they
I
do a
like
lot
that.
of
I like the
fancy
type of
stuff like
they were
that
doing.
too.
Yeah,
And
no,
it's like
facts.
because like and even the Eagles are actually a really good point in it too.
Yeah,
Like you see
Eagles,
what the
they've been
Eagles are
They've been
doing,
doing that.
or
Philly
like
special. That was 2017.
yeah, but like what they could do now with Jalen Hurts is just insane. And like what
Jalen Hurts is
Lamar's been
ridiculous.
doing in Baltimore for years. They've been
Nah,
doing
that's
a lot
facts.
of tricky stuff down there where like you don't know if Lamar is going to throw for 400 or run for
400.
150. Even Justin Fields
Yeah.
now.
No, Justin
2 weeks
Fields,
ago, he had a what was it? It was like $150 on the Dolphins.
And
it was insane.
Last game, who they play last week?
They
Wasn't the
went
Lions.
Lions.
Was the
Yeah,
Lions.
he had a pretty good game.
That run he broke for it had to be at least 20, maybe 30. And
No,
then
yeah.
truck somebody to get into the end zone. Like, what? That's video game.
No, yeah. And then all right. So like going back to last week, we did just talk about Thursday night, but I do obviously want to talk about week 10, like sum that up a little bit.
Yeah.
So we'll start here with the only New York team that did play because the Jets had a bye week. I mean, they play the Patriots this week. That's an interesting one in New England.
It'll be a good one.
It'll be
Jets look good this season too.
Yeah.
So, you know, Belichick's not having that.
But the Giants played the Texans. I don't know how much of this you watched.
I actually watched this game just because, well, one, I'm like a Giants fan.
Yeah.
But then on the other hand, I have Dameon Pierce and Saquon Barkley. So I'm watching this game.
Yeah,
you know what
I mean, I got Sunday ticket. I don't got anybody in this game in fantasy. So I kind of felt like the Giants, the way they've been playing this year, I shouldn't have to watch this game. They should win. That's how I was thinking going into it.
And that's pretty much what happened. They did what they were supposed to do.
Yeah, Saquon had $150 like he's been having all year. And I've been talking about this with this Giants team. It's very interesting with them. And I could go on for days because the way everything in every game, I feel like has just been going so perfect for them. Even in their losses, I feel like the fact that they're able to hold the ball for so long, Daniel Jones isn't turning the ball over. So I'm pretty sure they lead the league right now in time of possession. And so it's like
Dable.
Yeah, it's stuff like that Dable's really been able to do. And like I said, limit the turnovers with Daniel Jones, which was a big issue over the past couple of years. Yeah, the way he's limiting the turnovers is by going, all right, Saquon, you're going to run 35 times.
Honestly,
but
that's what's going on.
But it works. It works. He had Daniel Jones had 2 touchdowns. So he's scoring and not turning the ball over.
Right.
So it's work.
He's doing what he's supposed to do. But I don't know. I feel like Tony should have never been traded. You see, Tony, he's hopping in the end zone.
I knew it.
Are they serious?
I knew it the minute Kadarius Toney got traded. I was like, yeah, we're gonna be watching the Chiefs in the AFC Championship, and he because he's so fast, he's just gonna burst one by. Literally. He's gonna do like a Tyreek type, just burst by someone, game-winning touchdown, AFC Championship, and everyone's gonna be looking around and be like, they gave up what for him?
Nothing. Well, we don't know what it'll turn out to be, but as of right now,
I don't know. I'm always a big person where I get it. I get trading for the future. At some point,
I don't.
No, I do it. I do in a sense of obviously at some point the future is going to come, but I agree with you in the sense where a draft pick is like a lottery. Every single one from the first pick in the draft to the last pick in the draft is an absolute gamble. No matter how much you trust your scouts, it's a gamble, and everyone knows that. You have a player that proves that they can play in the best league in the world. Why are you gonna commit to the gamble over the proven player? It always made no sense to me. And then you end up in a situation like me. I'm a Saints fan. I'm looking at it, and we looked good last year, so we felt comfortable trading away a draft pick. But now I'm sitting here. We're at the worst we've been at in 5 years. We have a top 5 pick right now. Not only could we have used it, of all teams that we traded it to, it's the Eagles.
You're right.
So the Eagles, the Eagles just lost their first game and have a top 5 pick. And you look at it in that sense where it's was someone worth it?
But still, even the wide receiver depth, it just makes me question why would they even do that? I mean, the wide receivers that have been playing Slayton, they're stepping up and doing.
You think they got a chance at Odell?
But still, yeah, I do. I mean, I think especially now this new culture, it's not the same Giants that he was a part of before. It's it could be something, and that's kind of they just need. I feel like they need something.
It'd be so interesting.
That would be Saquon healthy with Yeah, with Odell now. Odell's getting
Just
older,
not even
but
that,
still,
and Daniel Jones isn't great, but it's just like I feel like that'd be a lot of
a
energy.
playmaker. He kind of
I
just needs a playmaker.
not even that, just locker room energy.
Oh
I feel
yeah,
like it'd
that's
just be
something else
a
too.
lot of good locker room energy that like now he's been in a championship locker room too, seeing how Aaron Donald and Von Miller and these
Yeah,
and Matt Stafford and these championship players hold themselves.
now you can come back and show the young Giants.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of people were kind of going to be laughing at us for saying that Odell could act professional. I think a lot of people disagree with that, but I mean, I don't know. I think the whole situation in Cleveland was interesting because I think when I look back at it, he had right to complain. Like you look back at the film
like
that
you can see
you look back at the film that his dad put out and all that stuff,
go
and
beyond the
he was
narrative and
wide
just watch.
open. He
Yeah.
was wide open.
Yep.
And he just wasn't getting the ball. It made no sense. But the Giants did get a big, not a big win, but an expected win nonetheless. They're at 7-2, top of the wild card, a game out of the division now with that Eagles loss on Monday night. So that was interesting. Next game I want to talk about definitely is, I don't know if you watched it, the morning game. Did you end up catching that?
So I have Geno Smith, and I actually forgot that I was even playing him. It was like 10:30. I'm like, sometimes you just like remember something, and I was like, oh, and I ran I turned it on, and then I'm glad I didn't watch the first half because in the first half nothing was going the Seahawks' way in the first half, but I watched that second half. Second half was crazy, even though they did lose. You know what I mean? That was
It was also like I got to talk about
like
this in like a sense of. I don't know if you paid attention to this. I look at stuff like this because I kind of find this type of stuff interesting when it comes to like the outside stuff. That was so much better of an atmosphere than the London games when it comes to those international games. I don't know if you kind of noticed
I was watching that other
but like the crowd was better, and I feel like Germany. I feel like oddly enough, I wasn't expecting this going into the year. Was like they should definitely have continue Germany games there and continue a game a year in Germany. 100%. It's a great market. I don't know if you saw the one video on Instagram that went viral a little bit, but like the whole stadium blew up. They were singing "Take Me Home, Country Road."
Oh, really? No, I
didn't like the whole stadium was singing it in like the middle of the third quarter just cause. And it was like international fans are fun like that. And
it might have had something to do with Brady, maybe.
But it was really interesting. It was a really cool game. The Bucks got honestly a big win when it comes to how close that division is. That division's not very good. But then playing a team that's been playing well in the Seahawks.
Been hot too, so that was kind of a big win.
Geno Smith had the quote of the year earlier this year. I don't know if you saw that interview. Had the quote of the year when when the lady asked him, she was like, "A lot of people were writing you off," and he goes, "Well, I ain't write back. Hey, well, I ain't write back."
Well, I heard that and traded for him in fantasy. I gave Trevor Lawrence. I like Trevor Lawrence.
No, when he said that, one of my friends did the same thing. He made his like fantasy team name. It was like Geno Smith Hall of Fame.
Geno Smith. I don't know because I've always felt like he wasn't that bad. You know what I mean? Like,
no, and I don't know. My friend, one of my other close friends, was a West Virginia football fan.
Okay.
So I knew about Geno Smith in college. So like ever since he got drafted, I like knew about him when I was little. So like I've always had a soft spot like personally just for Geno Smith. And like seeing him, that's what I mean. Seeing him have success is so like it's so cool, and he's humble. And in the situation, especially in Seattle, what happened with Russ, and now everything's falling apart.
In Denver,
I also just heard there was a report. I don't know how true this is because it was only on like a Denver radio station. Mm-hmm. Some dude said that he got insight, and he feels confident reporting it. But he said, and I find this crazy, Russ was calling Seahawks audibles.
Oh, really?
And receivers are like, we don't know this. We don't know what you're calling, bro.
That's like remember when LeBron went back to the Cavs and they were like, he set a screen on Norris Cole. Set a screen for Norris Cole. It's crazy.
Yeah, speaking of LeBron, I don't know if you saw that a couple clips last night that were really funny. Like the whole him lying thing.
Oh no, I've been seeing that. That's been all over my Twitter, all over my Instagram.
It's so funny though.
All over everything.
It's so funny, bro. But what do you call it? Last night, Amazon did a live stream, kind of like the Manning cast, but they did it with the shop.
Oh,
and it was like him, Maverick Carter. It was LeBron, Maverick, Jalen Ramsey was there. Jamie Foxx was there.
Oh, did Jalen Ramsey say something?
Yeah,
about
Jalen
it?
Ramsey called him out on it, and because he said something about like he was like, yo, this is what he said. He was like, I'm happy that they moved you into like the slot corner because he goes on Madden. That's what I usually do is I move you to nickel and blitz and just QB spy you and run all over. And Jalen Ramsey was like, you know what they be saying on Twitter, bro? That was really funny. No, that was
yeah, because LeBron don't play no Madden.
no, LeBron's interesting. But back to football. One game that the next game I'm going to talk about, and if you watch this, we could go on a really, really long rant about this. That Vikings-Bills game was honest, hands down game of the year, one of the best games over the past couple of years. Every year there seems to be this game that happens in the regular season. I remember a couple of years ago was that Chiefs-Rams Monday night game where they both scored like 55 points.
Yeah, that was crazy. But this game, all right, hot take. I know I personally, I didn't get to see, Randy Moss and T.O. in their prime, whatever. I didn't get to see Jerry Rice. I didn't get to see all these guys, right? But this is my hot take. Justin Jefferson, the best wide receiver I've ever seen. I'm putting it out there.
I don't know. All right.
I think I've seen what can I say? Megatron.
That's what I was about to say. But I'm gonna say I can't count people I haven't seen with my own two eyes, like you said.
Right.
So yes, I saw Randy Moss, but I saw him in New England and in San Francisco, not like Randy Moss. Like we didn't see that, and I didn't see Jerry Rice. I don't know if I could necessarily I could have I don't know. I think I could list prime Larry Fitz.
Larry Fitz is tough, but I don't know, just because Justin Jefferson is he has almost everything. Megatron.
No, he's insane.
Megatron
that catch might be might be one of the greatest. I don't know. All right.
And he had three of them on one drive.
I think the only two catches that I've seen better than that catch is the Odell catch, obviously. And then I don't know if you remember this because it's going to be forgotten about just because Pittsburgh is not good this year. But that George Pickens catch in week 1 or 2.
My friend is a Steelers fan, so
that is, and to me, that's the greatest catch of all time because
that was tough. That was
tough. The way he adjusted to the ball and everything there. But back to the Vikings-Bills game. My God. First of all, the fact that, in my opinion, that Josh Allen played was surprising because he had a partially torn UCL, which I don't know if you know this, but it's the part in your arm where it's like Tommy John.
Throw the ball.
Yeah, it's Tommy John. Like if you pull that, you need Tommy John surgery. That's what pitchers pull when they need Tommy John. So he didn't fully tear it. He just tweaked it. So the fact that he even played, and not only played, he was reckless. He was running the ball, he was playing like he usually does. He wasn't worried about his arm at all. He was trying to truck people, putting his head down. He had 84 yards on the ground. I mean, he threw two interceptions. Yeah. He threw 2 interceptions, both to Patrick Peterson.
He was low-key selling.
I'm not going to lie. So that last interception, I do want to talk about because I don't know where he was throwing the ball in that last interception. That was a bad. They showed that in the replay, and I don't know what he saw, where that ball was going at all. That throw made no sense to me. But Justin Jefferson, nonetheless, played really, really well. He had that insane catch. He caught himself a touchdown too. Dalvin Cook also.
Oh yeah, Dalvin Cook it was the cook-off.
Yeah,
that's what week 10. I want to say about week 10. Did you hear that stat? All the families played against each other.
No, I didn't know that. That's crazy. That's actually funny.
The Browns and the Lions played, so the same Brown brothers.
Oh yeah, the Bears.
Oh yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, the Bears and the Lions. So and then we got
the Cook brothers.
We got the Vikings and the Bills, and then we had who did the Dolphins play? I think the Dolphins.
Dolphins played.
Or no?
No, the Dolphins played the Browns. They played the Browns.
It's Chubb, Nick, and Bradley, and because Bradley's on the Dolphins now. They just traded for.
They're related. I didn't know they were actually related. I had no clue.
So that's why
I thought they just had the same last name. I didn't know they were actually related. That's crazy.
And then they all
football
played.
Families these days, bro. They go
They're
deep.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
We saw the Diggs Bowl earlier this season. What was that, the second week of the season?
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie though. I'm not a big Trayvon Diggs guy. I think.
Oh no, I'm
Stephon. Yeah, Stephon Diggs on the other hand might be the best.
Diggs on my fantasy.
Yeah, I'm a Stephon. I love Stephon Diggs. I really like Stephon Diggs, but not a big Trayvon Diggs, I think, isn't bad, but I think he focuses on getting interceptions too much. You know what I mean? And he just gets lost in coverage because he's trying to track the ball and you lose to a receiver.
That's that Asante Samuel.
Yeah. But on the sense of the Vikings too, Kirk Cousins, I don't know. See, that's what scares me about the Vikings in the long run, though, is I don't think they maybe have like one or two more primetime games this year.
That's good. The less primetime.
No, that's what I mean. But like, so they seem so real and they seem like they're playing so well, but every playoff game is a primetime game because it's the playoffs. Like that's obviously a primetime game. It has the same feel.
It's Cousins, in my opinion.
Like, is he just gonna it's all gonna go at the playoffs? It's just gonna this whole season's gonna be a waste.
Maybe because it's happened so many times before, right? And that's Cousins' thing. It's like, oh, he sucks in prime. So maybe this is the season where he's like, all right, I'm not gonna let that. You know what I mean? Like, because you can only take that for so long.
The NFC is so weird.
That's what I'm saying. It's open. The NFC is open for whoever really wants it.
I was saying this to someone, and it was like, if you told me the teams that were in the playoffs right now for the NFC before week 1, I would look at you like you had 3 heads.
Yeah,
like you're telling me the Giants, Cowboys, and Eagles are all in the playoffs? Like what? You know what I mean?
I didn't see that coming. I didn't see the NFC East being the most competitive division. I didn't see that coming.
No. It's the most. That is the most competitive because it's the best, and then there's the NFC South that's the most competitive because they're all terrible. And I'm saying that I'm a Saints fan. I'm in the division. Yeah. I'll admit it. We're terrible.
What's that? Saints.
That's the Saints, Bucks, Falcons, and Panthers.
Okay,
we're all terrible. The Bucks are the best team there, but like you look at the NFC playoff picture. The Seahawks winning the NFC West.
We know.
Like after trading Russell Wilson, nobody expected that. So it's really weird.
They got like rookies that are like just having crazy seasons. This season's been kind of crazy.
It's been insane. We were speaking of the Dolphins before, so going to that game, I don't know if you watched it. I didn't watch much of it because it was a blowout, but like I do want to just talk more about the Dolphins and the Browns. Because the Browns are at 3-6. But they do have Deshaun Watson coming back. I think it's in like 2 weeks.
Was it supposed to be week 13?
Yeah, that's right. And it's week 11 this week. So he has him coming back in 2 weeks. So we'll see how that really goes. And that'll be really interesting because, the NFL script writers couldn't suspend him a year. They had to. Oh, they play the Texans this year? Oh, that'll make us so much money. That's exactly what went through their head.
Oh, yeah. No, for sure.
But, I mean, Hill and Waddle didn't play well this game. It was all Jeff Wilson. It was Jeff Wilson, 119 yards, and traded to Mike McDaniel's system. I think is so interesting because, like, you see the Shanahan coaching tree really being built, which is interesting. Where, like, because even you look at NFL head coaches, you consider Kyle Shanahan this young head coach, but already coming out of his tree, you have Mike McDaniel, Sean McVay.
Mm.
And I think someone else, I can't remember, also was part of that tree. What's his name? I'm pretty sure Zach Taylor is up in Cincinnati.
Bengals,
yeah. So the fact that he already has a coaching tree is insane to me. And all of them are successful.
Yeah,
Bengals were in the Super Bowl last year. 49ers have been making NFC championships
every year.
Yeah. Obviously the Dolphins this year have been playing amazing. And then obviously the Rams, I mean, they're not playing great this year, but
they did
it. Last year they won a championship. They sold out for a championship. At the end of the day, that is your goal, is to go win a Super Bowl. So, yeah, it's just been crazy. And Jeff Wilson moving into just another system that knows how to use him from San Francisco to Miami, having success down there in the past 2 weeks, had a lot of success. But I do want to talk about Hill and Waddle a little bit, just because the season that they're having is insane together. And just seeing that, like, Tyreek Hill might be the best receiver in the league.
He's number 1 in receiving yards still, is he?
I think so.
He was
I believe so.
Probably still is.
He definitely could have got passed by Stephon Diggs because Stephon Diggs had 128 yards and he didn't have a great game. But still, the year he's having is insane. I mean, I still hold up the argument that his production has dropped compared to Pat Mahomes without each other. But what he's been able to do with Tua, who I honestly don't still think is that great. I don't think he's bad by any means.
Yeah, but he's not. You know he's not the talent that Mahomes is. So
I don't know if Tua could Tua necessarily win you a Super Bowl is still what I'm asking myself. I still haven't been able to answer that question
I don't
yet.
think he will be able to win it. I think he's a good complement to a good team. You know what I mean? But like they gotta have all the other pieces around to where it's like it just makes him be able to just do his job, and his job is all he doesn't have to go over into overdrive working to overcompensate for the lack of this
Yeah.
or lack of that. So it's like if he got all
I
the pieces
heard
around him, they could do whatever.
I heard someone say this once. It was one of those like ESPN insiders or someone like this. I don't remember who it was. And they said GMs think like this, and it honestly changed my opinion on a lot of quarterbacks. Not fully, but somewhat. Like Jimmy G, even though I still support Jimmy G because I feel like he wins, I understand this argument against him. And it's they can win, but you're not gonna win because of them.
Right.
Tua, I feel like Tua's
He's one of
kind of
those,
that
yeah.
guy. And I feel like, yeah, Jimmy G is that guy. But also, I also have the argument that I don't get why he's getting pushed out of San Francisco when you have a guy that, yeah, you're not going to win because of him, but you have him in the absolute perfect
They got
spot.
everything else. Too,
Yeah,
so
you have
like,
him in literally
I
the
don't-
perfect spot where you don't need to win because of Jimmy Garoppolo. Honestly, with the team that he has around him, he's good enough of a player to. I still think he's good enough to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, they haven't got one, right?
No, but like, and
But
that's
they've been
that's
there,
why they
like,
tried
you know
to
what I
push
mean?
him out for Trey Lance this year,
Yeah.
and that whole situation
I
happened.
think they kind of rushed that.
That's what I
And
mean because
now
Jimmy
Trey Lance
Garoppolo,
is
he's
hurt,
made 3
you know?
straight NFC championships, and then it's a question that nobody's really talking about because Trey Lance got injured so early this year, so they've had Jimmy G since week 2. But like, if the 49ers, who are playing well and just got Christian McCaffrey of all people, so they've only gotten better since week 2 when Trey Lance got injured.
Mhm.
They make an NFC championship, and you make 4 straight NFC championships with Jimmy Garoppolo. You're trying to tell me
He has
that the
to
team
go.
is going to support you looking at him and going, nah, bye, get out. Like, no.
I think that's kind of.
I don't even think the team supports it. You know what I mean? I think even the players are going to be like, we're winning.
Yeah,
Like,
it doesn't really make
like
sense.
we're right
That's like
there.
going backwards. You know?
Yeah. Just for someone who hasn't, again, Trey Lance, he was a rookie. He hasn't played it down in the NFL, or he played 1 game.
Yeah.
And I think they started off 0-1. They did. They lost to the Bears in week 1.
That wasn't a good game. It was rainy and cold.
Oh,
but
yeah,
still,
no, it was definitely,
but still, it's just like they lost.
like,
So,
yeah.
you know? But I think that whole thing was kind of rushed. Like I didn't see the need to necessarily like. Yeah, I know you.
I don't
have
understand.
lanes,
I don't
like,
understand it.
them,
Like,
but
I
you
feel
don't-
like if you read ESPN or like watch ESPN or like NFL Network, I feel like everyone hates Jimmy Garoppolo, and I have no understanding to why.
That's funny because I actually had we were just talking about Jeff Wilson. And I had Jeff Wilson Saturn. Like I don't know why, but I didn't end up playing him, and I had Jimmy G too. But like I picked him up like right when he started kind of picking up steam, and so that made me start following what the 49ers were doing. I'm like, okay, they don't look that bad. And then I see the trade. I'm like, what the heck? Like,
Yeah.
is this fair? So now they've got. I feel like the 49ers are kind of loaded on offense. They've always had the defense to be able to stop
Their
whoever.
defense this year statistically is all time. It is unreal what their defense is. They have what's his name? Oh, why can't I remember the linebacker's name?
Warner?
Yeah, Fred Warner. Or is it Fred Warner?
Yeah, Fred Warner.
He
54.
is unreal. He is everywhere on a football field. He's like, I don't know if you saw this, and I don't know how much time we're gonna have to talk about the Cardinals, but I do want to talk about them a little bit because I don't know if you've seen I've only seen the first episode of the Hard Knocks in season.
I didn't see Hard Knocks.
But like the in-season one, they
is it about it's on the
yeah,
Cardinals?
it's about the Cardinals this year, which I found interesting because they started off bad, so it's an interesting team to pick up.
Yeah.
And they highlighted Budda Baker a lot, and it got me really interested in the Cardinals this week. And I watched him play the Rams this week, and that man and he was supposed to be out 4 to 6 weeks with a sprained ankle. Didn't miss a week. Came back.
Really? Wow.
And that man flies all over the field. He is an unreal player. And like, it's just like, there's a lot of like interesting stuff going on with that Cardinals team. I don't know how much attention you paid to it.
No, I'm paying more than attention than I should because I had Kyler. Like
who's now injured.
That's so now it's like I'm glad I got Gino because it's like I didn't give away Kyler, but now I have them both. But it's like watching the Cardinals, you can see it's been kind of weird. They haven't had the team. Like, they still don't. It's like all season somebody's been. So it was Hopkins. Now you get in the midst of not having Hopkins, Connor goes down. Now you don't have Hopkins or Connor. So now it's
And
like
Yeah.
then Hollywood Brown goes down. Now Hollywood Brown's down.
And
but
that season-
Connor and
and
Hopkins
Ertz is
are
out
back
for the
up.
season
Now
now,
Ertz and
too.
Murray go down. So it's like they've had a weird, like, they can never just beat a full
I mean,
team.
I don't know. I'm not actually saying this is a theory, but it is interesting the timing of Kyler's injury. I
Mhm.
just gotta say, like,
Yeah, new
Call-
Call of Duty. Right?
Call of Duty and God of War drops, and the dude in FaZe all of a sudden is injured for 2 weeks.
Nah,
It's
that's
kind of
hilarious.
weird. So I gotta say, I'm not making any accusations though. I'm not making no accusations at all
But what I
against
will
Kyler
say
Murray.
is that I feel like they should have been way better than
Earlier
what
in
they've
the
given
year.
us so far to be like, well, this is the Cardinals.
I
you
feel
know what
like
mean?
DeAndre Hopkins, I feel like, has proven to change that locker room though, because their stats with and without D Hop are insane.
and
They're,
day.
yeah, literally, like they're so different teams. And then moving on to just talking about the NFC West, we were talking about the 49ers earlier. We could talk about that game a little bit. They beat the Chargers in a Sunday night game where they got a big win. They were in control of it, I feel like, for most of the game. I don't feel like the Chargers really, even though it was close, it was, those types of games where they were close, but like they weren't
It
at
just
the
doesn't
same
necessarily
time
feel like they have
any momentum
Yeah.
going for them or anything like that. It never really did for the Chargers. Chargers are a really, really interesting team to me this year because I feel like they had so much hype going into the year. Herbert got injured and they lost so much steam, but still have somewhat been winning silently every week.
Eckler.
Like
You
they're
gotta shout
still
out Eckler.
sitting here at 5-4 in an AFC West that outside of the Chiefs isn't very good. The Raiders, who we thought were going to be good, are very bad.
Dog.
And then the Broncos, we
Also.
also talked about that earlier.
They're like on
They're-
the same level.
Russell Wilson is calling Seahawks plays for
Yeah.
them. So
So
they're
you-
obviously not
You know
making the
what's going on in
playoffs.
Denver.
You know what I mean? Like, and that's a whole interesting thing. I don't know how you feel. That whole Russell Wilson, just him as a person, is just so interesting to me. Like, I don't know if you've seen all the clips, but Mr. Unlimited.
All the Russell Wilson memes, but they're like,
Or
all over
you
the
hear
place.
about him. This was the best one. Was before the London game this year. The high knees, when he said he was doing high knees on the plane ride. He was
Did they
like,
win that London game?
no, they did, but
Okay.
still, they were talking. He was like, because he was injured the week before, and he was talking about recovery, and he was like, yeah, for like the first hour or two, I was watching film. It's a 6-hour flight, so then for like the next like 2 to 3 hours, I was just getting my body right, doing high knees up and down the aisle while everyone else was sleeping, and I was like, bro, what?
He's a character.
He's
He's a character.
I feel like he's trying to be like, if you watch Disney Channel original movie The Quarterback, starring Russell Wilson, like
Right.
that's what he's living. It's insane to me. It's funny.
I could see if they ever redid that, I could see them casting Russell
Like-
Wilson. Yeah,
Like, bro, like he's
that-
so much
yeah.
trying to be like this, just like fake.
poster boy.
Yeah, like I'm like perfect, and then there's the whole situation with Team 3 where technically he never says anything. It's always Team 3. Like if you remember through the whole thing with him getting traded, he never requested a trade.
Right.
Team 3 requested the trade,
Yeah, so
not
it's like,
3.
okay.
3 didn't request a trade. Team 3 requested the trade.
Whatever that means.
Yeah, like I don't know. He's so weird, but yeah, the 49ers definitely got that big win against the Chargers. CMC has been playing well since he's got there. That first game they really showed, that first full game he had last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever that was. They really showed what they could do with him when he had the passing touchdown, the receiving touchdown, and the throwing touchdown. He's a weapon, and I feel like they're built inside and out offensively and defensively.
They got a lot.
They're a really good team,
Lot of
and
firepower.
I feel like a weak NFC for the most part.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like the NFC is really. I personally think it'll come down to probably the Eagles, probably the 49ers.
I think
and
the
then
Eagles are
it'll
too
be-
young, though. That's the thing.
That's what I'm saying. Probably because that from what it looks like right now.
I think they
it'll
could
be-
make the NFC Championship, but I
it'll
don't think they
be-
could win the NFC. I think they're too young.
Yeah, that's why I'm like. Ultimately, I think it'll be the 49ers, the Eagles, and then one team that's just like a random. Like because there's always a a random that like, all right, when the playoffs
That
come,
goes on
they
a
turn
run.
it up.
Yeah, they go on a run.
I'm hoping that's the Giants this year. I'm not gonna
I
lie.
think
I'm hoping.
honestly,
I'm
my
hoping.
pick would be. I'm gonna look at the NFC standings right now. I'm gonna pick the team to go on a run. It hurts me to say this because like I'm a Saints fan and I hate Tom Brady,
Mhm.
but I have to say the surprising team that's not playing well that's gonna go on a playoff run, it would have to be them because it's Tom Brady.
I forgot about the Bucks.
Like the minute the playoffs come, even though Tom's got all this stuff going on with Giselle divorcing him and then immediately dating like it was like I don't know, it's like some like jujitsu dude.
That's weird.
It's crazy, like literally like 2 weeks after. But like I feel like once the playoff comes around, Tom's Tom.
Yeah.
He's obviously always dangerous, and that's obvious. Like I think the Seahawks honestly could also go on a run because
That would
Pete
be
Carroll.
tough. Yeah, Pete Carroll.
Like he's a good coach. He's a really good coach.
I mean, they've got like it's not like they don't have anybody. They've got Kenneth Walker who's playing well. They've got DK, of course. They got Noah Fant.
It's their defense doesn't have
their
names.
defense is sus.
Definitely.
But Gino's gonna be able to put up if he can just the defense don't do too bad. Gino, I feel like he can keep him in the game.
Oh, 100%. Moving on to the last game of last week, Commanders Eagles. And this is where I do have to give out my weekly certified dog of the week award. I do not have a player I'm giving it out to this week. For the first time ever, it's going to a whole team. I got to give it to the Commanders. How do I not?
Beat the undefeated.
Yeah, you took down the king of the league, the undefeated Eagles, and nobody thought you'd do it. Now, I wasn't able, because of Veterans Day last week, to hop on the radio last week and talk about this. I will say I'm not trying to pull – I know me and Jaden were talking about LeBron before. I'm not trying to pull LeBron here and be like this, but I did kind of think in my head, I was like – because I remember when I looked at the schedule, and I feel like I said this 2 weeks ago when I was on, but I looked at the schedule. They had when they were on Thursday Night Football, they had the graphic right before their bye week. And I looked at it, and I remember seeing the Commanders because it happened to be the week right after I saw the Packers lose to the Commanders. I went to that game live.
Okay.
So I saw the Commanders live and with Heineke and everything. And I was like, I don't know. That seems like a trap game. Like, you know how there's those trap games, which this did end up being. I was like, this is very interesting. I did think the Eagles were going to win. I'm not going to say I thought the Commanders were going to win. Like, if I was going to bet money, I would have bet on the Eagles. I'm not going to try to say I was all in on the Commanders. But I was definitely very suspicious of this game for the Eagles, knowing that they could lose, it being a division game, it being a rivalry game, everything going on within the Washington organization with Ron Rivera losing his mom. You play for, like, there's emotions do go into football, especially at the highest level. It's true. As much as some people do like to deny that type of stuff, it's true. They really wanted to play for their coach, came out and had a big win. That controversial call at the end, I don't know how you feel about that, so you could definitely, put your opinion in. I think it's interesting. I think there's a right to argue that there shouldn't have been a flag, but the flag should have been thrown at the same time, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, there was a lot. That game, it was a lot of controversy even before that play. Like, just stuff that was going wrong for both teams, stuff that was missed. There was a pass interference called early to go in favor of the Eagles, in favor of Devontae Smith, that I don't think should have been called. I think it's one of those, like, let them play. Like, it wasn't blatant. So it's like, if it's not blatant.
There's been a lot of that this year, though.
Yeah,
like, if we really wanted to, we could really get into a conversation about the refs right now, because there's been a lot.
They're an all-time trash right now. But then, like,
it's really bad.
And then it's like the Eagles were not playing good. Multiple 3-and-outs early. So it's like, this is going to be a dogfight. So in those, especially, I feel like when the refs just kind of drop the ball, that just makes it worse because, fans, emotions. And now it's like, but that face mask was blatant. How I just said the pass interference was not, but that face mask.
Speaking of the face mask call, I watched the Pat McAfee show a lot, and he said this like word for word. I'm quoting him word for word. And this is just something funny that like I think about on that type of stuff, right? So there was something that they did end up reviewing on that play. It was like the like spot or something like that.
No, because Goddard fumbled.
Yeah.
So they were
They reviewed the fumble.
Yeah.
And you can't go back and call the penalty, obviously. But you're sitting there as a ref, right? And you look up at the Jumbotron, which, I mean, technically they're not allowed to do. But, like, obviously
Everybody does it.
eyes are gonna wander. Like, yo, if a ref's at one end zone and looks at the other end zone, the Jumbotron's in his line of sight.
Right.
Like, if you're a ref, you look up at the Jumbotron and you just see that face mask.
He's like, oh.
Yeah, you gotta be
at the face mask happening, and he like there he's just like this.
I feel like that always happens.
He's
I feel like
there.
on
I'm
these
like,
really,
oh, that's
really
crazy.
bad calls, like for example, as a Saints fan, when I say really, really bad call, I immediately think back to that NFC Championship 2-3 years ago with the Rams, right?
Mhm.
I feel like there's always a ref right there, though.
Yeah,
Like I feel like there's always like the dude who was
that's
like,
the part that makes
you
it make
really
no,
just
that makes no
didn't-
sense to me because he was standing right there,
Yeah.
like right behind God, not even right behind Goddard, right next to him. So like he can't do nothing but
yeah.
see him. Like that's all he can.
There was definitely a
I'm like,
lot
yo, this
going
is-
on in
this is
that
crazy.
game, but a big win nonetheless for the Commanders, who at 5-5 are right outside the wild card. They could also squeeze into the playoffs again in a tight division where, honestly, I say this all the time, and I saw a TikTok about this, and people were asking, they were like, do you think the Giants could beat this team in the playoffs, right? And they went through the NFC, and they said the Cowboys and the Eagles. And there was one dude who the whole time was saying the Giants, like for everyone, he said, well, they could, right? He said
Yeah.
it for everyone. But when he said it for the Cowboys and the Eagles, and especially the Eagles, everyone in the room flipped.
Mm.
And I think maybe being from the Northeast, it kind of helps, like me and you kind of realize this,
Yeah.
that how much, especially for NFC East games, records are thrown out the window
Oh yeah, that doesn't matter.
for everyone, whether it's the Commanders versus Giants, especially if it's like Eagles, Giants, and Cowboys, Giants, especially those two.
Those-
How
doesn't matter.
big of games those are just culturally, like fan base wise. Like those three fan bases hate each other right there. And Washington's kind of on the outside and just in the division. But because they're in the division, they're like Giants fans will be like, yeah, I hate the Eagles. Yeah, I hate the Cowboys. And then you'll be like, what about Washington? They'll be like, yeah, I hate them
Like, I
too.
mean, we don't like them.
Yeah, it's like
it's not as strong. Like it's not like a strong.
But,
hate.
like, yeah.
Cowboys and Eagles is a strong. Like no, we do not. There's no chance, no even smallest
Yeah.
fraction of a percent that we would ever even think about supporting this team.
so, and there's so many of there, like for all the teams, there are a lot of division games left in the NFC East. So the Commanders
it's like
definitely
it's almost all.
yeah,
division
they
games.
definitely Commanders definitely have an open opportunity to squeeze into the playoffs, win a couple of these games that they really shouldn't, like squeeze one out against the Giants, probably beat the Cowboys,
Mhm.
like something like that, like because they're these division games and maybe squeeze into the playoffs. And I mean, they didn't win this game, but if you looked at it that first year that Taylor Heineke started,
Mhm.
they clearly have a lot of energy behind this kid. Like the
I
year
like
that
Heineke.
it was the year the Bucks won the Super Bowl. They almost lost. They almost beat the Bucks in the wild card round that year.
Yeah.
It was crazy. I remember everyone was talking about Heineke. So I don't know. I think the Commanders are definitely like. I think it's an interesting team. Scary Terry,
They've got
Chase Young.
Gibson.
Chase Young hasn't even played all
He's
year.
about to come back.
Yeah.
So my friend is a Commanders fan, and he was telling me, he was like, just wait until.
Now I'll tell you this.
because they got that their defense. Their defense was shutting down the. Nobody shut down the Eagles so far this season. I know the Eagles have not played anybody, so we're not really gonna get into that. Number one easiest on strength of schedule. This was put out at the beginning of the season, so I'm not even gonna go. Giants were number 2, so I can't say anything, but. We're not even going to go there with the Eagles, but they did stop them, the first to do it, and like in a kind of serious way.
Yeah.
Like they weren't moving the ball, so like
Stop Jalen Hurts from running and stuff like that.
That has to mean something, and then you kind of get the guy back.
Yeah.
Like, so that's kind of scary.
And not even that. Just like Brian Robinson's been a monster for them.
Yeah.
Like we said, getting Chase Young back,
runs
it's just
hard.
like a lot of weird pieces for them. Ron Rivera's not a bad coach either.
And he's not.
And like, I don't know. The main thing that could fix this franchise going forward is just sell the team. And I'm saying this from someone who finally went to that stadium too. Terrible stadium. Like it's like,
yeah. Really?
and like Giants fans, we complain about, like, I'm not a Giants fan, but everyone over here in New York, we complain about MetLife. MetLife is not bad compared to Washington Stadium. FedEx Field is not a good stadium at all. It's just like, whew. But I remember we won me and my friend, I feel like this was a trick because we got we're at our seats and there's a piece of paper on our seat. It was like, you won a prize. Me and my friend are like, oh, dope. Like, this never happened before. Like,
Right.
we won a prize. Word. At halftime, we get up, we go to like the section. They tell, it was plastic sunglasses. They were Commander sunglasses,
Yeah,
bro.
that's crazy.
I was like, what? I was like, what prize is this, bro? I was like, you just gave me 4-cent sunglasses. It cost you 4 cents to
Right.
make.
That's crazy. Yeah, nah, that's not something that you would want to see, especially if they advertise it like that. You know what I mean?
All right, so running through now, this will be kind of fast because we're kind of just now going to run through week 11, pick who we think's going to win, normal stuff. We're going to start, obviously, with the New York teams, Jets, Patriots. I don't have the spreads here this week, so I'm not going to go based off spread. I'm just going to go based off game, like just money line type stuff if you are betting. But I don't know. Jets coming off a bye week. So are the Patriots, though. In New England, the Jets beat the Jets already at home this year. I'm going to take – I know I have the Jets bolded here, but I kind of changed my mind. I'm going to take the Patriots because I thought it through. And Zach Wilson historically is really bad against Bill Belichick. He seems to have his number against young quarterbacks, especially Zach Wilson. So I'm going to take the Patriots at home here. Probably going to be cold in Foxborough. Probably going to get some of that snow from Buffalo catching the tail end of that. So you might get some of that up there too.
Yeah, I got that.
So I'm definitely going to take the Pats in this one. Probably close. I know the spread, if I remember, is like 3 points.
Maybe Jet spread.
So the Jets might be able to definitely cover. It could be like a 1-point game. It could be an incredibly close game, but I'm definitely going to take the Patriots here.
I see something like low scoring, like
Yeah.
not too sexy, like hard fought. Probably a defensive game. I don't think Belichick.
Especially the way that the Patriots have been playing this year. It's going to be Ramondre Stevenson gets 37 carries and yeah. The Lions at the Giants. Like I said about the Texans-Giants game last week, I don't feel like this should be one that we should worry about when it comes to the Giants. I mean, the Lions beat the Packers, so maybe they are something to worry about. I don't know. A struggling Packers team nonetheless, though. But, yeah, I got to take the Giants. It's the Lions.
The Giants. I feel like the Giants haven't lost in a little bit. Did they lose that game before the Texans?
Yeah.
Who did they play? Do you remember?
I don't remember off the top of my head for some reason.
I think it was. I don't know.
It was Seattle.
Okay, yeah,
Seattle.
That game was kind of winnable.
100%. All their games are winnable.
But what I was saying was I don't know. I just feel like right around now is going to be the time that if they're going to fall off, they're going to start to fall off. And so I wouldn't be surprised if they lost this game and just kind of signal to everybody all right.
I don't know. It's the Lions,
Giants.
Bro.
But that's why I'm saying it's and that makes it even worse. You know what I mean?
So
old Giants are back. And I don't want them to lose, but it's just I don't know. It's something about this game is weird to me.
All right. And then Bears-Falcons. This one is this is going to be the most boring football game probably of the year. I mean, the Colts-Broncos earlier this year on the Thursday night game was that.
That was terrible.
But I think this might be a hot competitor for this game because the Bears do nothing but run it with Justin Fields, and then the Falcons do nothing but run it with their running backs and Marcus Mariota. So let there be, 400 rushing yards per team. It's going to be just running the ball. It'd probably be the first game done of the day because they're just running the ball. Yeah. Low scoring. I'm going to take the Bears because I feel like they kind of been rolling a little bit.
I'm going to take the Bears too.
So I think it's a little interesting. I think Justin Fields kind of catching heat, which is really interesting because he's very athletic. So him just catching heat is good for the Bears and good for them. So I'm going to take the Bears in that one probably close. Again, low scoring, like we said with the Patriots-Jets game. But give me the Bears, even though it is in Atlanta. Panthers, Ravens. I think we could kind of just skim over that one and say both the Ravens, Lamar. Panthers aren't good this year. I mean, they have a couple of surprising wins. And P.J. Walker made the greatest throw I've ever seen in my entire life against the Falcons one day.
Moore, that was
I kid you not. I said it on air that week. It was the greatest throw I've ever seen in my own. I think he threw it I actually think he threw it 65 yards. I never looked it up, but I want to see the next gen stats of that because I actually think
shout out Temple.
I think it was 65 yards in the air. But yeah, so the Ravens, they're gonna win that one. Browns at Bills. Now this one is in Detroit. It's no longer in Buffalo because Buffalo snowstorm is going crazy. Now, yes, I would have loved to see that game, but it's impossible to have a game if nobody can go to the game. Right. Therefore, you got to move it to Detroit. It happens. again. I wanted to see it. I wanted to see 6 feet of snow on the ground in Buffalo and them playing football in it. Like
That
that
would have been see Chubb running hard.
Yeah.
That would have been
And then
tough.
Singletary running hard, and
Yeah.
then Josh Allen running
Running
hard
hard,
because
yeah.
nobody's throwing the ball in 6 feet of snow. But it looks like your backyard football game. Like those games
Yeah.
are always so fun to watch. I remember the last time Buffalo had it, LaShawn McCoy was running all over the Colts.
Shady.
I remember. I saw this earlier on Instagram this week, which isn't happening anymore. But if they were in Buffalo, both of those last like crazy snow games, like this one that would have happened, and the one against the Colts,
Mhm.
Jacoby Brissett was the starting quarterback for the opposing team in both of them.
Wow, that's a crazy stat.
Like I was like, I found that so interesting. I was like, that's crazy. But I think the Bills win. Rough loss last week. I think Josh Allen is just in a dome now.
They're
Now you don't
snapping
got to
out of
worry. Now you not, and also now you don't got to worry about the cold weather because they're in a dome.
Yeah, that's,
So his arm is going to be warm. I think they're going to be slinging it.
that helps.
And I think they are going to absolutely murder the Browns. I'm not going to lie. I think they win by like 2 touchdowns at least.
Yeah.
Commanders, Texans. I'm going to take the Commanders because they've been on a roll. We talked about them before, so it's not much more to talk about, but they've been on a roll. I mean, going to Houston isn't easy, but Houston's 1-7-1 and the worst team in the league. So, like, I don't know. They're one of those teams where it was like the Lions last year where, yeah, every game they play is close, but they just can't win.
And I think their defense is kind of lacking. Not even kind of. Their defense is
Yeah,
lacking.
and then
they
like
got
you got Damon Pierce, and then
and
you know,
and then nothing.
I don't Brandon.
Pierce,
No, yeah,
but
but
it's like,
I don't. Is Brandon Cooks even playing anymore?
he's
Or
back.
is he sitting out?
Back. He got back last.
Because I know
finally.
I know he came out at the trade deadline and he came out and
Like,
said he will. Yeah,
get me out of
he
here.
was like, I want to win. Why am
Yeah.
I here?
Facts.
I miss Brandon Cooks, bro. He used to be on the Saints way back in the day. He was one of my first ever Saints jerseys. I remember this vividly. My dad was so mad he bought the jersey because, ready? I get a Brandon Cooks Saints jersey for Christmas.
Yeah.
February of that year, man gets traded to the Patriots.
Right. Yeah. And he was on the Patriots. He got smacked in the Super Bowl, right?
He got rocked by another former Saint,
remember.
Malcolm Jenkins. Too.
Oh, okay. Jenkins played for the Eagles for a while.
That was his 2 teams, bro. He
He
played
was
for the
super
Eagles
tough.
and the Saints for a
Yeah.
while, and he was a great player. I loved Malcolm Jenkins. He
Jenkins
was drafted by the Saints, went to the Eagles for a little while. I remember when I was young when he left and went to the Eagles. Like we were kind of young, and I was upset because he was one of my favorite players back in the day. And then towards the end of his career, he re-signed.
Okay.
Like played his last 2 years over in New Orleans. But back to the schedule: Eagles, Colts. Again, I think another easy one. I think the Eagles win this. I mean, I don't know. Jeff Saturday's 1,000%. Never lost as a head coach in the NFL. 1-0 after everybody said it was the worst hire in the world. As someone who I don't know how connected to like the football world you are and like how much like talk shows and stuff you listen to, but like how'd you feel about that hiring when you heard about Jeff Saturday getting hired about that coach? It's just like
I felt like it was like it made sense to me. Like I know Jeff Saturday from being Colts, like you know what I mean. So
that's what I
the
found so
association.
weird. Like there was this whole argument against like tradition and stuff like that against the Colts, and like they were mad at Jim Irsay. But one, it's the interim head coach job, so literally the minute the season ends, he's not the head coach anymore.
Right.
And then 2, it was like, why not? Like he's played in the NFL. He was a center. He was an all-pro center. He knows the building. Like, why can't a player be a head coach just because he hasn't been a coach for 30 years before?
Yeah, so like, but how's he gonna be a coach?
And like the people who are like the offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator in Indianapolis, I'm not saying they're bad at what they're doing because they're a good OC and DC, but they've both been head coaches multiple times in the league and both been fired multiple times in the league.
Yeah.
So if I'm Jim Irsay, I go, so I got 2 dudes who have been fired and proven don't work. Or I got 1 dude who it's like, we got what, 5 weeks left? Jeff, get in there.
I don't see a problem with that.
Like, I think it's fun. I think it's really interesting, even though I think the Eagles in Indianapolis come in and absolutely smack them.
They're gonna lose, but still, Jeff Saturday, I'm not mad at it.
Hopefully, you can get Jonathan Taylor the ball more because he's been on my fantasy team all year, and that's been terrible. So, and Michael Pittman. Rams, Saints. I don't want to pick this one because I feel like the Rams are going to win. And as a Saints fan, I don't want to say we're going to lose again.
Right.
That's why I see you looking at my notes. It's the only game not bolded.
Yeah.
Because, like, I don't want to say the Rams are going to win because I don't want to say the Saints are going to fall to what, like 2-7. And we don't have, and they don't have their first round pick. Like, it's painful to watch. Like, So
Can't even tank.
I don't know. I mean, I think at home, the way the Rams have been playing, I think the Saints definitely have a chance, but
Mhm.
like just riddled with injuries again. I'm tired. I'm kind of getting tired of the whole Michael Thomas thing. He's out for the year again.
Yep.
I think I'm tired of that. Marshawn Lattimore's been out for a while. So there's definitely a lot of injury issues, but like they got to figure out what they're doing. I think this game could be close because, again, I don't think the Rams are very good this year. I think Stafford is kind of looking like he finally is hitting the age wall.
Mhm.
And I don't think many people are talking about that, but his production this year has dropped immensely. So I think the Saints have a chance to get a win because they've been in all of their games this year. And Andy Dalton is not as big as a wild card as Jameis, but definitely still a wild card to how he's going to play.
Right.
So I think it could be interesting. But I mean, as a Saints fan, I'm gonna pick the Saints because I think it could be close. But yeah, you said you got the Rams, right?
Mm-hmm.
Broncos, Raiders. I'm gonna take the Broncos. I'm not saying the Broncos are good. I'm just saying
Broncos and Raiders.
I'm
I feel
saying
like this game is like,
I'm saying the Raiders are worse.
yeah.
But part of me also says this. I don't know if you saw this. Derek Carr, after they lost last week, was crying in his interview.
That. Yeah, I saw that. I did see.
So like, part of me is like, bro, you can't do that and then go lose.
And then go lose. That's
yeah, you know what I mean?
Because it's like you just showed that you put your everything is like, all right,
we gotta practice harder. We gotta like.
So if you took that and
then
you
you
didn't
lose,
go practice harder,
it's just not gonna look good at all. And I think it doesn't look good. I think the Broncos win because I think hopefully Russell. I almost said Russell Westbrook. Wow, that shows how bad Russell Wilson's been playing this year.
Equal.
But Russell Wilson, as long as he's not calling the Seahawks plays, I think the Broncos could beat the Raiders. I don't think the Raiders defense has been playing very well at all this year.
No, they haven't.
Offensively, it's weird because they have Devontae Adams, who's not playing well.
They have Josh Jacobs,
who's been playing way better than everyone expected, though. So it's really weird. Like there was a point earlier in this year where Josh Jacobs was the best running back in the league.
Right.
Like he was tearing it up. But yeah, I'm definitely taking the Broncos there. Cowboys at Vikings. So this one is interesting because this spread I remember very vividly. The Cowboys are favored in this game. And I don't know why.
I don't know.
It's not a primetime game.
Vikings home?
And it's at 4:25. If it was a primetime game, I'd understand it because primetime Kirk. The Cowboys are 3-point favorites. Against the 8-1 Vikings on the road.
That everybody thinks it's fluke. Nobody thinks this is legit.
I find that
Nobody
crazy.
thinks that the Vikings are legit, but I'm gonna stand by my prediction.
Let me just say this real quick, Dad. I know you're listening. Yes, the Cowboys, they shouldn't be favorites this week. I know that you say they should be favorites every week. No, the Cowboys are going to lose to the Vikings this week.
I can see that. Because the Vikings are not bad, like they're not bad.
Trayvon Diggs can't cover Justin Jefferson.
Oh, he's about to get.
Yeah.
Hey, I said earlier.
We were saying it earlier. That's what I mean.
Best wide receiver ever. He's Trayvon Diggs.
He's about to cook.
He's about to get cooked.
Oh my God.
And he's not going to get an interception.
All right, see, like I'll say this: Dalvin Cook might not have a good game because the Cowboys' front seven, Michael Parsons, that front line has been playing unreal.
Right.
So that Kirk Cousins is going to have like someone in his face the whole time. But yeah, it's gonna be crazy. Bengals, Steelers. I think this one we could kind of just gloss over too. Bengals and Steelers have not been playing well at all this year. You got them, and then you got just the Steel like Kenny Pickett's not been playing well, that type of stuff. It's been a lot there.
Right.
Sunday night football. You got Chiefs at Chargers. We were talking about the Chargers being sneaky good, but I think the Chiefs kind of are gonna handle this one for the most part. Again, we said the Chargers. Sneaky good, but I don't think good enough to beat
Chiefs good.
I don't think good enough to beat the Chiefs. I said this earlier. The Chiefs' offense has been so good over the year. They changed an overtime rule to make sure that if the Chiefs' offense gets the ball first, the other team can also get the ball.
Yeah.
Like that's how good the Chiefs are and have been. So give me the Chiefs in that one. And then in Mexico City, 49ers at Cardinals. I'm going to take the 49ers here. I just think they have too many pieces. Yeah,
I just think it's too many variables.
And I don't think Kyler is supposed to play this week either.
He might, and then Colt McCoy is hurt too, so it's like he might, and that's like
it's just too much there.
You don't want to have your third string in.
It's just too much there. And then, so we are running out of time here. I mean, I did want to talk about UFC 182. I'll talk about that more next week because we don't really have much coming up in the UFC world. with that big Izzy loss, I will talk about. I do want to just throw out there, everyone be expecting World Cup starts Sunday. Like I said, Qatar, Ecuador, 11 a.m. Ecuador at 11 a.m. And then USA, we kick off at 2 p.m. on Monday. Everyone be ready to be into that. Root for the USA. Get ready for us to bring home a World Cup. Be into it, guys. Let's do it. Let's go. And that's it for today for the Log Show on WSJU. Thank you, everybody, for listening.
Good show.
Let me end this live stream.